Like Plato's allegory of the cave over there.
Allegory of the cave, the other shadow.
Yeah, exactly.
Turn away.
Right, so, hey, we're
light.
live. Welcome to Intelligent Nonsense Podcast. I am your host, Everyday Junglist, Dan. I'm here with Hal Gill today. He's my guest. As everybody, you probably know him as the nicest man on Substack. That's how he goes. That's his nickname, or at least that's my nickname for him. But we also have a surprise guest, Bruno Battati, who I am definitely going to have on the show again. He butted into this one uninvited. He was invited. He didn't just butted. He was invited by me if he wanted to be a guest. I'm really glad he joined us. I don't know how much he's going to say or not, but I hadn't planned for him to be here really, but I'm really glad he is. I hadn't really planned for Hal to be here either, so we don't have a plan, but I do have a plan. I sort of have a plan because I wanted to say, Hal, you've had me on your show. I don't know, what, 6, 7 times, 8 times, probably.
I've lost count.
Right. But you do it 3 or 4 times a day, right? You do it at least 3 times a day.
Beach. Yeah.
7 days a week, right? You do your show basically 3 times a week, 3 times a day.
Oh, I do it
7 days a week
with the live streams from the street.
You do a lot of that. The walking around the street.
Yeah, walking around. And Bruno asked me one time, "Why are you doing that?"
Yes. Why are you doing that? So why do you do that? What was it? Tell me about this. I'll give you a little time to promo your prep or whatever. Your show here. Why do you do this harrowing thing? What's the name mean of your podcast?
Well, harrowings is actually scraping the surface, right? That's how you'd go about getting a field ready for creative work of planting. You harrow it. And I also think we're scraping the surface here because I only see the surface of things. I don't see the depth.
So why do I think so? Let me just interrupt you there. Why do I think when I think harrowing, I think a harrowing event, scary event. It's terror. I think terror. Yes.
Well, that's it. Life itself is harrowing, right? We talked about that in our very first conversation about the near-death experience. You had near-death experience that I've had. How terrifying! How going through life sometimes feels like running naked through barbed wire, and it's harrowing. It's scary. Just going to first grade, for instance, things like that. And
but
also,
that's not the original definition of the word. The original definition is what you described of a field.
Well, from the aspect of the agricultural definition, yes, you use a harrow to harrow the fields. But I think that also harrowing is like if you were actually to have the harrow pass over your body, it would be pretty harrowing.
I see.
So you get the point. Agriculture is a really dangerous thing. My grandfather did it, for his living down in North Carolina. I was a tenant farmer as well as farming his own land that the family had been on since the 18th century.
Okay.
And I'm also the son of a research historian. So the reason I go out and film the passing show is I'm building up a body of work that's primary documentation of who, what, when, and where here now, possibly for research historians of the future, like my father was.
What your father was? Your father was
he picked up stuff from account books and wills and inventories to put flesh on the bones of the people of 18th century Williamsburg.
So let me go back to your grandfather.
This thing, which is the bicentennial engagement calendar he wrote in 1976.
Okay.
So you can look back,
back when we were proud of our country. I remember those days. We were proud of our country. I don't remember those days, but we were proud of our country back then, as I understand.
And at the bicentennial, weirdly, we were, even though Nixon had just gone through his, Watergate thing, and we were kind of proud of ourselves for throwing.
I'm still proud. I shouldn't say that, of course. Still proud of the country. That's a really, really rude thing to say. Not a rude thing to say. It's not exactly a true thing to say. It's a partially true thing to say. But
we were grateful for our country. I think at that point. Yeah. I don't know how that appeared to the Chileans or the Italians. You're a Chilean, right, Bruno?
Yes. Half of it. I am a bastard.
Me too. My parents were married.
Your grandfather.
I have two tails.
Sure, go for it. We'll let you go ahead, butt in.
Come on. Yeah, I tried to draw him out, actually.
Go ahead, come on. What's the tail? Oh, the 2 tails. I see. Not that kind of tail. 2 tails, as in a different kind of tail to tail.
I meant 2 tails like a dog.
I got you. So, Hal, your grandfather, did they have slaves? Not that this is a tough question.
No, actually, they didn't. I don't believe at any point during the time that they. At least I need to research that a little closer and make sure. I'm pretty sure some of the folks in Virginia did. Particularly the Germans who were coming down out of Philadelphia down into the Valley of Virginia, that ended up meeting up with the Gills who were moving out to the west from down here in Tidewater, Virginia, where I grew up.
And so the reason I asked that is Williamsburg, where you grew up, you actually grew up in colonial Williamsburg.
Yeah, I'm a Pfeiffer.
Which is crazy. Not a real place. It's a recreation of a place in a time that does not exist or didn't exist, but yet you grew up in this town. It did obviously it did exist, but today it doesn't. But the town stayed the same, or it tries to recreate the feeling of that time and maintain that. And you grew up there.
And it's a colonial revival thing. What's interesting is J.D. Rockefeller Jr. bought the whole damn town in the 1920s, and actually about 100 years ago right now. He was buying up properties. The first one, I think, was bought in 1926, the Ludwell Paradise House. And the rector of the church there in Williamsburg, who had been going since 1750, it's like the longest running Episcopal church in America. That was his baby, right? It was his vision to restore Williamsburg. And they did.
John Rockefeller. This was Rockefeller's vision, was to do this.
Rockefeller's money coming in to do W.A.R. Goodwin's vision as he was the rector. And what's interesting to me about the whole thing is the town itself in 1780, they moved the capital to Richmond to get it out of the way of the British. Make sure that, the British couldn't take the capital as easily as they might. I think they ended up taking Richmond anyway. But bottom line was Williamsburg was no longer the capital, so it kind of went to sleep. And they had a hospital there, one of the first hospitals for treating the mentally ill humanely, that started like in 1760 under Governor Fauquier. And so you had the people who were left in Williamsburg very much thinking of themselves as still that colonial aristocracy, the first families of Virginia idea.
Yes, they were the rich.
So, but there's only about 500 of them left, and then there's like the 500 who are taking care of the mentally ill. So it's like 500 lazy watching 500 crazy.
Okay.
Was Williamsburg in the 1920s. So it was right for Rockefeller's money to come in during the Depression, right?
Yeah.
So it really made a big difference. And then they could sort of instantiate this great men history kind of thing.
Right. And I went there as a kid. At school, every school had to, I don't know if every school had to, but where I went to school, you took a field trip to Williamsburg was the thing you did to learn American, part of your American history and being a patriot and learning about how to be a patriotic American was going to Williamsburg, right? On a field trip, which I did. And I thought it was neat, I guess. I don't really necessarily remember. We went to DC, I think, also on the same trip. I saw the whole deal. But I remember it was very much a recreation. Everyone was living like, it was the time. Whatever time it was, the time, the olden days.
Yeah.
And I just in my mind, I just think as a kid, how do you separate reality? Because this is now you're living in a fake reality, but there's the real reality, and then but you never see the real reality because at least early. I mean, you didn't have I guess you had TV and such, but you're pretty old, so
I didn't live.
There was no internet.
24/7.
So you did. Okay, you did. So when you went home. I guess that was my question.
Yeah, we
went
home. Lived out in the suburb, right?
In the suburbs. Okay, so you're in a normal life.
House, typical.
Okay. So you had a normal life outside of the recreated life. You had a normal life.
Yeah, it's kind of like that. And the inside the town itself, there's this whole culture because there's like 4,000 of us employees of Colonial Williamsburg itself, which is a huge enterprise.
Yeah, that's a lot of people to employ.
It's not nearly as big now, but the point being that it had its own internal culture because my father was a historian, as I mentioned, so he was really embedded with the tradesmen of trying to do as much research as he could so they'd be more authentic in their presentation of the kinds of work that was being done, but they were really doing the work. I mean, you've got incredibly skilled tradesmen. Like one of my father's friends when I was growing up was the master gunsmith, and he had learned how to make guns from scratch, from a scalp of iron, a piece of wood, and some scrap brass, and forge out all the parts, including the little springs and the flintlock work.
Wow.
And he would make a working rifle. It's a great film, actually, called The Gunsmith of Williamsburg.
Pretty impressive.
So my father did research for that, and for the silversmith of Williamsburg as well, and other things. They called it 18th Century Fox. The outfit that made these little films.
Yeah, I understand. So that's okay. So you weren't really there. I felt like I thought you grew up in the town, like you were actually only in the town, but no.
No, I was outside, and we moved to a nicer neighborhood, one of the first gated communities that Anheuser-Busch put up, because Anheuser-Busch put a brewery in, and then Busch Gardens, the old country right next door, which is Coaster Park. Yeah.
And then the roller coaster park, which I've been to. That's right now. That's right.
I didn't know that you were the son of a historian, which explains a lot.
Yeah.
This thing that I've studied about you, that you're so much into archival history, which I find
You're right. I mean, that's a big deal.
Of the archive.
Yeah, my father has this huge amount of material that is yet to be published. That he died at 91 with work in progress.
And this work is related to American history. This is American history work that you're talking about here.
Yeah, primarily on tradesmen of 18th century Virginia.
And are you going to? Your intention is to publish this work, correct? Because I understand that's part of what you're doing
Bits
here
and
on
pieces,
Substack.
the publishing arm, Harrowings, is my publishing arm for the Harold B. Gill Foundation.
He has a company.
He does, right?
Yeah, it's an LLC called the Harold B. Gill Foundation.
It's a nonprofit. No, it's an LLC, not a nonprofit.
Preserve his, well, it's not really a nonprofit.
It's an LLC.
It's an LLC, quite simply, so that I can, put all my expenses through that I was doing after I got.
Listen up, IRS. Did you hear that? IRS? Anyone listening? No.
It's working good.
Just kidding.
Yeah, good tax returns because it makes nothing but losses. With only 21 paid subscribers right now, I lost one. So I had 22. Now I've got 21.
Well, that's a lot more.
What my sustenance is. That's why I took a job. It's had a shop down at Daily Provisions. When I'm
wasn't me.
selling lattes.
I am a subscriber. A paid subscriber, I believe, still.
You are. I think
I'm
a paid subscriber to Intelligent Nonsense as well.
I think you are, actually. You're one of the very few.
I think I might be a founding member even.
Actually, you are. You get special benefits with that, I think. I'm not sure what they are
yet. Yeah, if you're a founding member of mine, Eric Knudsen is my only founding member, and he's the chairman of the board of directors. My paid subscribers are on my board of directors.
That's right. I'm on the board as well. So I'm on the board of the company. I put that on my CV. I keep putting it. That's going to help me out there. I got to put that on my CV. On the board of directors. The Harold B. Gill Foundation. I'm on the board of directors.
Well, the Colonial Williamsburg Foundation was a good idea. And, I got my first idea for this from the Isaac Asimov series Foundation and Foundation and Empire and things like that. My father got me a copy of that, and I just naturally drew the connection between the Colonial Williamsburg Foundation and the Galactic Foundation that was trying.
It's just a little bit smaller, perhaps, but you're working up to it. We're going to working up inside.
What I find curious is that you have all this archival side, but the way I met you is totally different. You are a person that walks around and runs, pretty much like the old Aristotelian school of peripatetics, or like Hesse, or like Heidegger, or like Nietzsche. This thing that you can only get good ideas if you walk.
You're giving him way too much credit, Bruno. I have to say.
Oh yes.
Just kidding.
I'll take it.
Yeah, you're getting way too much credit, but I see
the analogy. I mean, Bruno, we met you first because you happened in when we were going out.
It just happened. We were at the airport. It was horrible. It was terrible. You kept dropping off. It was really very bad. Kind of like our last thing. But he stuck with it somehow.
Well, I mean, the point is that Substack is filled with people that are sitting down, thinking and speaking, whereas Hal is walking around, and he's walking, running, and
camera out to film the passing show. Yeah. The passing show is a really important part here, because what that is everybody who happens to fall into my lens. And, they're my stars, and I get little bits and pieces of their lives. And I think about, oh my God, they probably have an interior life like mine, where they've been thrown into this world, and they're probably just as confused as I am.
Well,
because I'm very confused. But I do think I want to be a good ancestor, and I'm pretty well convinced that we are co-creating the worlds we are experiencing. And I'm like, what the hell, man? I've been better do better than I've done before, because this is.
Yeah, you gotta get cracking, man.
Did you see my thing down at the tidal pool the other day, or not tidal?
I didn't see that. The reflecting pool. Yeah.
It's awful.
I didn't see it. No. I was the one that said it really was in bad shape. I heard ducks were dying and all this other stuff. Or it was in pretty bad shape. But,
it's a 250th anniversary of our country, right? And people will come here to the Capitol and see it basically smelling like manure. Literally, it smells like manure out there.
Well,
because they want to make better grass, because our president knows grass.
Well, grass is good. It's good thing to have. There's no grass where I live. Or where Bruno lives. Bruno doesn't have grass either. He's in a desert type environment.
Are you in the desert?
Well, sort of, right? Where your environment's desert-like, Bruno.
Me?
Yeah, where your town now is sort of.
No. I am in the
Oh, that's
Italian.
right.
I am in the
Is
Italian
it kind of?
countryside. Although the place where my family is from, which is Emilia Romagna, is Italy is like this.
Yes.
Very, very hilly, but
Yeah.
the area where my family is from is an area, Emilia Romagna, which is famous because it has a very extended valley, which at one moment was the source of food for the whole of Italy. And it does smell like manure, exactly like.
So where is the desert part of the country? The spaghetti westerns back in the day. The Clint Eastwood movies that were filmed there in Italy. What
Where's
part
that
of the country?
Calabria?
What part is that in? What part of the country is that in? You know what I'm talking about?
It's different. It's different. You mean the Sergio Leone movies? It's
Yeah, where?
different.
Yeah, right, correct. Where?
Areas, but Calabria in the south has
Okay.
an extended amount of. It's
Desert.
not desert. I wouldn't say that it's desert. If you look at the movies closely, you'll see that it's also hilly and also with some low shrubs.
Yeah.
But it's mainly in the south. The south is more desertic.
On both coasts or the south? One particular coast or the other, or is it on both sides of the?
The Adriatic coast, the one that faces the one that faces Sicily.
I see. Okay. Have you ever been to Italy? Hal? Have you been to Italy? Hal? Have you been?
I have. I've been to Rome for New Year's Eve, just New Year's Eve, on 2006.
I heard this rant. I heard this rant when you spoke about Rome and your New Year's Eve experience.
No, I haven't heard this one. What happened? It was not good?
Well, actually, I've been over a week or so in December, and then I decided I'd like to go over and visit my girlfriend again and just have New Year's Eve with her. And I've booked a hotel, booked a flight from Dulles to Paris to Rome, and then toured around with her for, I don't know, the whole from whenever I got there midday on the New Year's Eve through the new year, and then flew out the next morning.
Nice. That sounds like fun. That was fun news.
It was a little nuts. It was a little fun. I was dating a girl who was from originally Sardinia.
Okay.
And she was from Sassari in Sardinia. That's where she was born. And she was of Basque heritage, which, the combination of Sardinian and Basque, or however you pronounce it.
I don't know what that means. What does that mean? What's Basque heritage? I've heard.
The Basque people who are up in the area of France that faces out onto the North Sea Atlantic.
Okay. They're sort of like the separatists. They had a sort of separatist movement going on for a while there.
Yes, exactly. And they're not actually language related to anybody else. Okay. They're sort of a holdover. It's a very interesting group. Her family came from Pau. So she was Daniela de Pau. And she's over in Dublin now, but it's
interesting speaking of separatist movement.
And so I decided to, try to have another fling at our relationship after 10 years after graduate school when she got divorced. And that didn't work. At least I found out it was more me the first time.
I know.
You ever see that Haagen-Dazs commercial for Haagen-Dazs gelato where this Italian girl is making dinner and the guy comes in and she just starts flinging things at him?
I've not seen that.
It's kind of like us.
I see. It was just volatile.
Yeah, you got to see that
relationship.
It's very funny.
Yeah, it's pretty volatile.
It was exciting, but it was not sustainable. so I'm so glad I've got Lynn instead. And actually, Lynn and I have been
where's Lynn?
Friends since then. She's at work right now.
Is Lynn there with you?
No, Lynn is at work right now at the office.
Like a very lovely
the National Press Club building. She's actually in 14th Street. They have that offices for the Theodore Roosevelt Conservation Partnership there.
And so is she fully mobile on her own? Or does she require mobility assistance?
Well, she's able to walk with an ankle foot orthotic on one leg.
Okay, so she is mobile.
She's got that. It has to be braced because there's paralysis in that ankle, and the left arm doesn't work at all. But other than that,
she's able to walk. She takes herself to work and
with a cane. And get a lift if I'm working. So that works out pretty well.
And you're working today at what's it called again? Sorry, remind me of the name. The name of the restaurant is.
Daily Provisions, not today.
The Daily Provisions. You're not working today, but this is your current employer, Daily Provisions Restaurant, and
which is mainly in Manhattan, but we have an outpost here in DC, which is New York's nicest suburb.
So you are You're waiting tables in this restaurant,
Well,
correct?
not so much. I stand at the host station, take the orders, give them a number, and then they take the number out to wherever they want to sit, and then the food's run out to them. It might be me, but isn't necessarily.
That's necessarily for you. I see. But you
And
enjoy this job. You found that you really actually do like this job.
pretty much, I'm not much good at behind the barista bar yet.
Okay.
I haven't done a lot of that, but I can pull shots. I can set it up pretty well for the guys who can actually do the work. But man, that's high pressure.
And what's the clientele of this place? Is this politicians, like high value politicians coming in here, like your big dogs, or no?
Some, a lot of people are like, international.
Okay.
They're coming in, and because they're
obvious
for some of the embassies and stuff, because we're not far from Embassy Row.
Yeah.
I get this guy from Belarus coming in all the time. Nick, I know what he wants before he wants it, and he gets a tax deferred thing. Basically, I have to type in a number from his ID so he doesn't have to pay any tax.
I see.
Yeah.
A U.S. tax. He doesn't pay any U.S. tax.
Yeah, he may be the ambassador of Belarus for all I know.
Right, he could be.
But I did have a guy come in the other day who was the president of the Phi Beta Kappa organization.
So, okay. This is a question I'm going to ask you. So who's the most famous person that you've met, either in D.C. or anywhere? I'm not asking Bruno this because Bruno, it's not fair.
Do you like
a lot of famous people, right?
Like these rankings so much? Who's the most? Who's the
I know.
first?
For some reason, I'm in a ranking mood right now. I'm in a ranking mood. Who do you think, Hal? Most famous person that you have met?
Well, I had David Gans.
I'm out. You can't say me. I'm out.
The magician. The magician.
David Gans on my show not too long ago. David Gans, he's pretty famous.
Oh, David Gans,
the Deadhead crew, because he has the Grateful Dead Hour on Sirius XM radio.
Okay.
He's been doing all kinds of stuff for them. Jay Blakesberg I had on too not too long back. He's a photographer in the Grateful Dead scene and is probably the most famous photographer out there. He's photographed everybody.
So you've had some you've interacted with and not even know, actually known or had on your show.
And Lisa Law, I had her on at the very beginning, and my friend Sophie, for that matter. Sophie wrote the best-selling Book of Angels.
You've told me about this book.
Sort of set off all the angel craze.
The angel craze.
And she's very interesting. She believes in angels pretty strongly.
Yeah, pretty strongly.
I don't know, man.
Bruno, how about you, man? I want to hear you. I know you've met some famous people.
Oh, we're still on that.
Yeah, we're still on that. Yes, I need to get your answer.
Okay, I've met French President Jacques Chirac. I met Rutger Hauer, the actor. I met Philip Seymour Hoffman. I met Tarantino.
Oh yeah, Philip Seymour Hoffman. He's cool.
Man,
also quite dead.
I met. Let's think somebody not from the cinema world. I met Jacques Derrida.
Who? Jack who?
Derrida. Really?
Yeah.
I went to a talk by Baudrillard in Vienna once. That was.
I envy you for that one. He's very relevant right now. Very relevant right now.
He was talking about the fall of the Twin Towers, and there was a line he used, which he was talking in German, and I understand German fairly well. But he said, "America is a type of," and he used the German word "Unkultur," like the uncola, unculture.
Yeah.
And non-culture or something.
That's a European view. That's a very European view of America, which I find a bit accurate at some levels. But
he refers to the fact that in America, the consumption of culture is a spectacle, is a show, a simulacra. It's a simulation of reality.
Yeah.
That's what he meant by that. And
you've got to consume it.
It's also a
you gotta consume it, and also you consume reality as if it was fiction. This is the essence of in which Americans are particularly good at, I would say.
That's true.
Because right now, for example, we're seeing wars everywhere, and we're seeing people blown up to pieces, and we watch it as if it was a fiction movie. We don't react empathically to the fact that people are getting killed every day.
Yeah, Gulf War I really did that with the whole video game kind of sense of the war. And then it was somehow clean until we had the highway of death. Yeah. And then we withdrew from it because we couldn't cope with the highway of death. And we've just been doing more of it. The whole thing about drone warfare that's going on right now in Ukraine and Russia, and is just things are changing in ways we're not prepared for.
Well, I don't like the way people are shrugging off horrific,
Yeah,
horrific
modern
crimes.
people.
Like it's no big deal. Like, oh, boys will be boys. It's like, oh well, what are you gonna do? Just like this attitude of shrugging the shoulders about horrific crime really bothers me, and I see it all the time, and I just really makes me angry. But then what can I? And then I say the same thing. Then what can I do about it? So, but it bothers the crap out of me how laissez-faire the attitude of people to
Use your voice.
the most horrific of things happening, and people are just like, well, it's not me, or it's not my kid, or what. I mean, how they justify it, but it just seems like complete blowing it off like it's no big deal. I mean, maybe they're
Well,
not. Maybe they're not really thinking that way, but God, it sure feels like it.
we're inured to it, right? Our nervous
I guess, man.
systems just get bombarded with this stuff all the time, and
Yeah.
we
I mean, you talk
become
about
numb.
selling babies. You talk about things like selling babies, and I mean, satanic
This
cults and all kinds of kind of crap. I
this
don't
is
know,
why
maybe beyond the pale.
this is why Baudrillard is relevant today. Because, for example, when the internet came over, intellectuals like Baudrillard and also writer Kurt Vonnegut said, and Gore Vidal, they all said internet is a huge problem because now any idiot can say anything and he will get world exposure.
Including me.
That was like,
We got one right here. Three right here, actually.
yeah, actually, like us. Now,
Right,
everyone has the chance to talk and speak. And so the point is, how are we building reality with so many voices? Speaking about representations of reality, because what's happening now is that we're having too many representations. It's hard to know which representation is a fact and which representation is an alternative fact, quoting.
What's her name?
This creates a problem in the way we are building reality. And I find you interesting, Hal, because you have this paradox. In my point of view, you're very paradoxical in the sense that on the one side you have this obsessive historical archival thing, and on the other side you privilege a stream of consciousness and talking about anything and at any moment, and these are two very different ways to build reality.
Well, I'm a fife and drum guy, right? So I've got these certain drum beats that I'm hitting, which are be a good ancestor. Every cent spent is a vote for the kind of world we are co-creating, because we are now Homo economicus, in my view. That's where our power lies, is not only using our voices in these platforms, but actually encouraging each other to be more mindful about how we are spending our money and what we are funding, and funding the military industrial complex and big pharma and the healthcare industry in the United States, which is a sickness care industry, is just, we've done this to ourselves, folks, starting with the HMO Act when it comes to healthcare. And back in the 70s, we're getting the ripple effects of this whole system of extracting the maximum amount of wealth for the very smallest part of the population. So yeah, I am a little paradoxical, but I do have some specific themes that I'm kind of hammering on as I walk around and have this stream of consciousness of like, well, here's the passing show again, folks. This is what we're doing here, where everybody's life is a little thread in the tapestry of history. We're weaving history as we go.
How come that tiny little percent here, this little tiny percent you just mentioned, are
Yeah,
all
like my
such
friend Jeff
douchebags?
over the hill.
Why are they such dicks? That's the part I don't understand. There's got to be at least some percentage of those people that are not dicks. They're not douchebags, but it seems like they all are. So why is that? I guess it's my question. That's a requirement to become ultra wealthy, is that you basically are a piece of crap. I mean, you basically are just a complete worthless piece of shit. You give up on being a good person. You basically say, fuck it, I'm screwing over everybody. I want to be rich. And that's the only way to get there. I can't believe that's the only way to get ultra wealthy, but maybe it is.
Billionaires are very addicted to games, to online games, and the figure of the non-player character is super important, in the sense that to them, we all are non-player characters, and it's only a small group that is relevant. The rest are little algorithms that pass by, and you can shoot them. You can shoot them if you want.
You can do whatever you want with them. Yeah, that's true. I get that, but why? Why is that mentality so prevalent at that level?
It's a video game mentality.
It is.
We're not real. Yeah, I guess that's it. The suffering of others, the lives of others.
But still, did
you ever see the lives of others, guys? It was a German film about the Stasi agent who was observing it was like 2006.
Yeah, of course. Oliver von Hirschfeld, yes. It's about the stats. It's about listening to your neighbor and everyone spying on everyone.
And he became very empathetic, though.
That's Kentucky.
Target. He was in
Yeah.
the attic listening in on these lives of this writer and his girlfriend or his wife, and he became very empathetic to them. He came over onto their side, so to speak.
Yes,
It's a very interesting film, The Lives of
this is the interesting part of that movie, because
Right.
that movie explains how East Germany was in the 60s, and it was the first experiment on surveillance state. It really was the first one, because it used technology, not like the Russians, who use guns and
China.
yeah, it's the first like technological application of Machiavellianism, which is exert power through fear, basically.
Yeah, and the paranoia, right?
And
The
so now
paranoia.
the important thing about that movie, I would say, is that it establishes the difference between censorship and self-censorship, which is something that is very important in dictatorships, because it's very different to feel censored, like somebody's going to knock your door and carry you to jail, than you yourself shutting up because maybe somebody's going to come to the door.
Yeah.
So self-censorship is much more effective.
It is, yes.
Understand?
And I feel it
I kind
myself.
of want that. I kind of want somebody to come up to my door. And I'm right next door to the embassy in Moldova, and I'm across the street from the embassy of Albania. And I figure I'm probably being surveilled all the time, and I hope they're interested enough.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'm just.
And that is a good question you make.
Yes.
In the modern state, with the tools that are available, the surveillance
There's
tools that
another
are available,
movie.
how much are we being surveilled? Do you imagine? Do you wonder? Do you think? And I don't actually think it's all that much. I actually think it's overblown as far as the
Yeah,
modern.
I'm sure. But it's an information glut, right? I'm pouring information out
It's just,
there to just try to confuse the censors.
This is the problem we are in molecular biology, where we have we have so much information, so much data, sequencing
Right.
data.
Right.
99.9% of it just gets thrown in the garbage. No one ever fucking looks at it, because it's
But
impossible for a person to understand, even for a computer, to parse what's important and what's not. And so these sequencing projects and things, we're generating all this data, and it's just going nowhere. It's basically being not used. And
yeah,
there's probably
or
gold mines
not
of
yet.
information. Not yet. And there's and that could change, but it's just crazy, because that's the same thing that's happening everywhere, basically.
Well, that goes back to the kind of data my father was gathering from account books and wills and inventories and anything source he could find for, say, a silversmith like James Getty that worked at the corner of Palace Green in Williamsburg.
Right.
He wanted to flesh in what his life was like, and he could find out the family tree and who was in it. And there's still descendants of those people around the town. So anyway, getting back to the movies thing, I wanted to know if Bruno, Mr. Ulo's Holiday. You know that one?
Who?
What is it?
Mr. Ulo's Holiday with Jacques Tati, French film from way back, and it was basically just follows this guy.
You mean Monsieur Hulot? You mean
Monsieur Hulot, right? His holiday, right. Monsieur Hulot's Holiday. And he's a Chaplin-esque figure that goes on vacation, and the film is cinema verite, right? It's just like what happens, and there's no plot.
What is the movie again? This is an old movie. This is black and white.
Yeah.
Black and white deals.
Monsieur Hulot's Holiday.
Okay. It's not only a movie, but it's a character, Monsieur Hulot.
Yeah, he has some other movies too. Playtime.
He's sort of an amateur. He's not professional, but he's sort of an investigator. He has the mentality of a Sherlock Holmes.
I see. But it's a comedy. It's meant to be funny. Like, it's meant to be a comedy, sort of.
Yes.
It is like his Chaplin-esque figure.
I see. So
he's very different because he's French, right? And he goes to the south of France on holiday, and he's just sort of doofy. But this is also along the lines of what I have in mind with my work, is that it is kind of like how Gill's holiday. And I don't know, it's kind of like we talked the other day about how I'm kind of moronic.
Kind of. It's a little bit.
On so many levels.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. Actually, I think I'm losing my,
Yeah.
My mother's going into memory care right now. She got moved. So
I'm sorry to hear about your mom, by the way.
It's going to happen to me.
Actually, I'm sorry to hear about your mom, by the way. I did see that post about that.
I appreciate that. But it's also a matter of letting go of everything. Eventually, we all let go of everything. And getting back to the suffering in the world. Meher Baba says that this is all just Maya. It's all illusion. And it's like taking off dying. It's like
all right. I remember it being an illusion when I was writhing in pain from necrotizing pancreatitis. It was not an illusion, I can tell you that much.
The suffering wasn't? No.
It was not an illusion, no. It was not an illusion. But it's not required. What's up? Reno, what'd you say?
the director Jacques Tati, who also played Hulot in all these movies, he was the French version of slapstick. He's totally inspired by Chaplin, as you correctly say. But what is and he was, his movies were basically comedies. Comedies like comedies with a little bit of drama.
But not funny. So not funny. There's basically comedies, but not funny.
Like, they are
aspects of the show, I think.
Sure, they're hilarious.
They are funny because they are based on a series of accidental encounters between Hulot and other people. Now, what is interesting about this character is that this character develops this theory that reality is created only when there is a scene. When I bump into you and we have a dialogue, something comes up and suddenly we are both part of a scene, which is part of a story. But then we split and
it's over.
I never remember you again. So Hulot is an interesting character because he's always looking to create scenes. As irrelevant as they might be. So he's always looking for people to talk to, situations to happen, and he makes sometimes he pushes situations to happen. Also, he's a very peculiar character because in the end, you watch the movie, and if it wasn't for him, nothing would happen.
Nothing would happen.
It actually
literally makes the movie.
What's going to happen?
Interesting. So I think that's an interesting concept. Actually, I like that concept. I do like that
lovely.
concept.
There's another one that is related in my head, probably not to anybody else. Run, Lola, Run. You remember when she bounces into people as she's going through, and then they say und, and then get all these snapshots of the different things that happens to the person. And I think about that when I'm walking down the street because I'm like seeing people and I'm like, I wonder what's going to happen to them after they leave my lens,
Well, that movie pushes the boundary a step further because it's actually 3 short films. It's the same story told 3 times, but it's what happens with the story if you bump with the character 5 minutes before or 5 minutes after, and what is the outcome?
The outcome of that,
which is the movie is very well done. It's a classic now. Tom Twyker. And it's a very funny movie because the 3 outcomes are totally different, and they refer to the concept of timing, okay, or synchronicity, okay.
Right.
Now the point would be that this movie destroys synchronicity because what it says is that it's irrelevant when we bump into each other. The only relevant thing is what the outcome is going to be. So there's nothing really like a coincidence. Yeah. It's rather how much you believe in the illusion of the scene, like Rasia Emam is now saying, How much do you believe in what's happening? How much meaning is this scene having really? Is this aleatory and irrelevant, or is it mystical and filled with meaning?
It could be.
Well, I don't know about this conversation. This conversation right here is not all that mystical, I don't think. But maybe
we're about to go into Philip K. Dick and his exegesis.
As I start, it's weird. As I'm writing this book, this War of the Americas book, I've been writing for a long time. I feel like Philip K. Dick sometimes because I write these things and then these things happen in the real world that are just eerily similar to the things I'm writing about. I'm like, man, that's exactly what Dick was talking about. But I'm sure every writer has the same thing, where you're writing something and then all of a sudden something happens in the world. It fits into this whatever. You think, oh wow, this is some sort of mystical thing, but in reality, it's just the nature of coincidence and many things happening and the way our minds work. We like to make connections.
Well, that's pattern recognition, right? William Gibson, yes. Pattern recognition.
We do like.
Did y'all read that book by any chance? I don't think it's a movie.
I haven't read any William Gibson books, but
Gibson's pattern recognition.
You mean Neuromancer? Yeah, there is a movie and a video game also.
Not Neuromancer, but pattern recognition came out right after 9/11. He rewrote it when 9/11 happened, and basically Casey Pollard, however you pronounce her name, she loses her father in the Twin Towers, but she becomes a footage head. All these little bits of film are coming out from Russia, and they're being collected by this little group of people who are finding them on the internet. And they say, well, this is obviously some sort of like pattern that's being formed out of all these clips. And, what's kind of fascinating is a lot of these people have virtual relationships, and it's like 2000, 2001, 2002. So you're looking at the time and period in which a lot of these virtual communities are coming together. Yeah. Like we're having a virtual community between the 3 of us, Tijuana, Italy, and DC. And they don't meet in real life until towards the end. Some do, but it's kind of like They become
what's the
enmeshed in
point?
each other's
So
lives.
what's the point of the movie? I mean, what's the overall message?
The overall point, I guess, if there's anything at all, is this woman is a cool hunter. Now, you're familiar with cool hunters, people who pick up on fashion trends that are out there, whatever, and they're, they feed into big advertising firms. They're very consulty types.
So, like, if one of them were watching this show, they would.
And in
obviously
her case, she's allergic to brands.
Is
She's allergic to the Michelin Man, for instance. She's got this allergy.
Allergic to them. Okay, I see.
And it's kind of bizarre. Anyway, I don't want to really spoil the book entirely, but my point about pattern recognition is exactly what Bruno was saying. We see these patterns, and you were saying about the patterns that you pick up on when you write something, and then suddenly you're seeing it in the real world because it's the pattern you're focused on. It's kind of like what happened with my ex-wife. She used to think of the thrift store as her magic box. She would visualize something, she'd walk in, and there it'd be. And I told her, well, that's just pattern recognition. You just,
there's no
magic to that.
But maybe,
and then it didn't work anymore. I ruined it for her.
She ruined the magic. Way to go, buddy.
She took everything.
That's a buzzkill. Yeah, but this making of your own reality with the way you think about it thing has gotten taken really far, way too far in many cases, and people have really gotten out of control with it, and it's used as an excuse to not do anything, or an excuse to not work hard, or whatever it's used as an excuse for.
To be apathetic, right?
To be apathetic, basically. Well, if I just think, if I think so and so, then this will happen.
Man, there's a song I was listening to this morning called "Inside Job" by Don Henley, which, if you haven't heard it, is just so worth the price of admission. It's title track of an album from 2000, and he said, they're just going to keep on doing it and doing it and doing it to us. These men up in the towers, are doing to you and me. They know your mother's maiden name and what you had for breakfast. They've got all this data on you, and you think you're so smart, but you haven't got.
I do think that. Yeah, you're right. I do think that. In fact, I know that.
You know that you're smart.
I'm correct when I think that. I'm joking. I
have a criticism about this, which is, pattern recognition. I think pattern recognition is a function of the brain, and you can turn it on and off. Okay, and obviously, for example, pattern recognition is very based on the human figure, like pareidolia. Like, for example, when you begin looking at faces where there are no faces, in mountains or in plants or in paintings, But pattern recognition is something that can be turned off. Anyway, my
face blindness is interesting too. Oliver,
it's very important to turn it off because pattern recognition sort of limits associative memory, which is when you pick up this memory and you pick up this other memory, and they have nothing to do with each other, but you bring them together, and a creative act happens that sort of breaks pattern or comes up with something. And my criticism about this is that on the time that William Gibson and all these pattern recognition intellectuals wrote was not the overwhelming amount of input that we have now, where now pattern recognition eventually ends in conspiracy theory today. And that's the only end of any pattern recognition today. And so it's very peculiar because it creates a problem on the building of truth. What is truth? Everything is only pattern recognition. And the second thing, which I think is very critical about this, is that since you can now, if pattern recognition dominates the creation of reality, then how about me pushing for a certain pattern recognition that is false? And then you get AI slow. And you get a lot of bullshit, basically.
Basically.
There's news on that front, by the way. Substack is putting in something to help us identify AI generated stuff, and I do generate AI stuff sometimes.
You are AI, right?
Review stuff with AI. But
I like. Sorry, but not sorry. How? But I want to ask.
There's one other thing I want to point out, and that is apophenia. You all know the word apophenia? That's the recognition of patterns that don't exist. So that came out in that book too. Anyway, go ahead.
So Bruno, I'm really interested in I've thought about this a lot since you mentioned this to me around AI and memory. A very interesting thought here, a concept about AI and the inability to forget and what the outcome of that actually is.
You remember that? Yeah. I do not use AI. I have strong theoretical arguments against AI. Theoretical because I am not a scientist and I am not a software developer. But a starting point, a starting argument about this is that basically the theory of AI is that AI can remember everything at the same time. Therefore, its pattern recognition is better. Okay. To this thing, we have two arguments. AI remembers everything that we have published on the net, nothing else. And for example, all the archival material that Hal is now collecting from his father and preparing to publish, that is outside of the net. So AI has no memory of the work of Hal's father. That's the first point. The second point is the one that we spoke the other day, which is that it's important. This is a Plato argument, but it is important to forget. It is important not to remember everything for several reasons. But among them, one is to come up with creative things. Second, to repress or leave behind negative memories. And third, which is the Nietzsche argument, which is so that you can enjoy things a second and a third time. For example, watching a movie again,
right.
or reading a book again. We live in a consumptional space where, one basic rule is that you consume everything once. Nobody goes back to watch the same clip. Nobody goes back to read the same text. And that is super problematic, I would say. And Substack is not very helpful in that aspect, because when you want to go back to a text that you read from somebody, the search tool is useless.
Yes, it's very true. Yes,
it could be. Yeah, I haven't used the search much.
But you make the point that you said that the people, if you don't forget, essentially you're crazy. You can go crazy. And in fact, if a person never forgot, they would be insane. You would go insane. I absolutely agree with that. You have to forget as a person. Now, a person and AI, very different things.
According to the post-structuralist, if you remember everything, you become a schizoid paranoid. You become psychotic. And this is another trend of a problem. But if you remember everything, then you begin to build non-realities, alternative facts. And these on their own begin to build meanings and senses that are senseless. And this is where AI fails, which is my typical criticism about AI. AI writes very nice paragraphs and very nice sentences, but it's very, very bad to build the total sense of the text. There is a difference between me saying a paragraph or me saying a couple of sentences or a couple of words than me writing a text with a beginning and an end, where I'm trying to push forward a sense, which is not the same as meaning.
Yeah, very true.
Sense detection, I think, was an interesting field. And there's a lot of work being done outside of the mainstream in AI too. I was citing Ben Goertzel's work because I got associated with that in AGI 09, I think it was, a little Artificial General Intelligence 09 conference here in DC. I don't know where he's at in 26, but entirely. But I try to peek in every so often to see the work he's doing. So there's a Artificial Superintelligence Alliance actually that he's into.
Don't get me started. I was just saying, don't get me started on this super intelligent. It just drives me nuts with this parsing of intelligence. It's intelligence.
The word intelligence, right, is not.
Yes, we have 12 minutes. I just look at the time. Anyways, not going to get into it. 12 minutes left. I'd rather move on from AI because I can talk about AI whole on and on and on and on. And I'm really.
It's a simulation, obviously, that we're looking.
Not to fall into the theoretical argumentation. I think a problem that you Americans are creating now is that all the money in the world is being invested in a single thing. But that's okay. America has decided to invest 92% of the GDP in AI. Okay,
we're actually just circulating it, right?
I hope that the Chinese. I think the AI race is already lost, but that's not the point I want. The point I want to make is that we need to invest more in creativity. We need new artists. We need new art. We need new science content, and basically all the money is being funneled into a single thing, which only creates non-content, which is not art, which is not science, which is not knowledge, which doesn't extend the walls of knowledge. It just recycles it, And so the money problem is at the center of this discussion, which is why are we investing so much on AI and on technology in general, and we're not investing in art anymore, because all the art that we love and all the art that created what we are now was financed by somebody, who at one moment or another said, okay, let's build this church, let's do this painting, let's do this sculpture.
Yeah. Well, the one thing I would say we ought to put our money toward is also mitigating existential threats, because we've got a lot of them. AI is one of them.
Well, and that's another thing that drives me nuts. The AI, so-called whistleblowers and whatnot, who want to have their cake and eat it too, and say all of a sudden now they were all pro AI, but now just in case they're going to say, well, no, look out, AI is going to kill us all. Okay, dude, you can go home and take it. That's bullshit. I'm sorry, you do not earn the right.
That
If you were
is.
an AI, you have no right to tell me now that I should be scared of something that 2 weeks ago you were telling me was the greatest thing since sliced bread. You may want to think that, but seriously, dude, do not say that, because that makes you a
What's going to
complete
sell the
asshole.
book?
Exactly. That's
Like
all it's
if it's
about, man.
printed, it's suspect.
It's about being on the right side of history. No matter what happens, that person is a hero,
I
because
would just
they
say that
developed it. If it's great, and if it fucks it up, they warned us about it. So it's like they're setting themselves up like they can't lose, and that drives me fucking nuts. And people are buying it like it's like, okay, oh, look at this guy, he's a hero. He's telling it like it is. He's not. He's hedging his bets because he's not sure what's going to happen.
And if
Just like
he's got an
everybody.
audience, that
Right.
bonus, you know.
It's just it drives me nuts. And people don't see through that shit, and
We
that
need
also
an
drives me nuts.
audience, we got an audience actually.
Right.
They're up here engaging us a little bit.
Yeah, who do we have here? I haven't even
Bill
looked
and
at that.
Craig
How
says
many people
new
do we have?
art. We got a lot
I
from
can't really.
Ross Imam Dazram, by the way. And
How
there's
many people do we
Emily
have in there in
as
the chat?
always.
Does it give you a number? How many people are looking at it?
10.
10. All right, that's pretty good. That's 3 times more.
Yeah.
That's huge. That's huge
To,
numbers for me.
And 3 of them are us.
Yeah, that's right.
To this debate, I only think that AI is simply confusing us. It's confusing us to a level of confusion that we've never seen before. And to live in confusion is a mental problem, because we do need to have some pattern recognition. Pattern recognition is not a problem. Pattern recognition is needed so that we feel an entourage, a base, something from where we can build something. So the problem with AI is that AI is basically a confusing technology, I would say.
And one thing I'd say too is that Gutenberg and the whole idea of translating the Bible out of the Vulgate into vernacular, that was also very disruptive, right? Putting knowledge into the hands of people could be very confusing and cause a lot of trouble. 30 Years' War broke out over this stuff. So I don't know. I think that we are at another moment in which, people are always getting themselves confused and exhibiting primate behavior. Primate behavior. We are primates and we forget that. Another thing I've got is that I want to say that if it's printed, it's suspect. So always go back to primary sources if possible. And that's, my research kind of stuff that came from Dad.
When you say it's printed, it's suspect, you mean if it's typed? What do you mean by that?
I mean, if somebody is publishing anything like we're doing here now, for instance, there's an axe to grind. Everybody's got a little agenda. Let's look behind it.
I've got more than one.
Scrape the surface off and see what's behind it. Follow the money,
Right. There's a lot of money here for sure.
Yeah, so it's a lot more trustworthy, right? Because all we're doing is just shooting.
That's sad. I don't know if that's sad or not, but it is true that it's like the more money that is associated with something, the less you trust it, or I trust it.
Well, that's
and I think it's accurate to do that. I think it's right to do that because it's been shown true over and over again.
Don't
that's
trust,
the case.
right?
The more
trust
something
verify, I guess.
The higher the amount of money is associated with something. Doesn't matter what
critical
it is.
Thinking skills.
You trust it less.
Critical thinking skills are at a premium right now. If you can do it,
are they? Well,
see through the bullshit. That
I'm not working. Let me tell you that way. It's not that big of a premium because I'm not working, and I don't think Bruno. I don't think is either. And so and I've got a lot of critical thinking skills. I have to say, a lot. In fact, I'd say I'm one of the best.
Well, maybe not at a premium for employability. That may not be the case.
Correct.
But what I'm saying is, it's a commodity that we need to cultivate amongst ourselves so that we not
totally agree, man.
led into confusion as Bruno was talking about.
That's my point, man.
But I mean, also in this aspect, there is a historical change because, there was a moment in which printing and exposing your ideas could be dangerous to you, and therefore people were very self-censored in what they would publish and they would not. But eventually the publishing industry grew between the UK and America, and finally, Gutenberg became an industry, not just a propaganda device or a way to spread Catholicism or Protestantism. But the point I want to make about this is that we've been on a war against sources for a very long time. I mean, the intention first of all, there has been for a long period since the 80s a war against intellectualism, and therefore,
oh yes,
a lower of incentives for reading. Don't read books. No, reading books is a waste of time. It goes against the principle of, if time is money, reading is a disaster. So don't read. And now we have AI, and AI has simply taken it over as a maxim of its agenda. Which is forbid books. Don't read anything except what I tell you as an AI. And I am impressed at the amount of people that immediately throw their opinion on a discussion without taking the time to go to a source. And what's the problem about reading books? I mean, what's the problem about reading Marx or John Stuart Mill? Why not?
That's the time is the thing. Everybody will say, well, I don't have the time. I don't have time to do that. But then what are you doing with that time? And, it's not watching me or reading my stuff. That's for sure.
I dug out the great books series from the Britannica that were done in the 50s to, have them at my beck and call whenever there's Gibbons is right by my chair right now, so I can read The Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire. And we are repeating patterns, though, in history as primates. We do the same kinds of things to each other. And when we get power, when we get the ability to actually control resources, we still get that feeling like we're out on the savannah and we've got to have the feast part because we're worried about the famine. When we're living in an age of abundance, and we don't have to do that anymore, but we're still geared that way. We're not very evolved from our forebears 500,000 years ago. I think I've told you guys before, maybe Bruno hasn't heard it. I used to attend this thing over at Georgetown we call Civilization Anonymous. And we basically think that civilization is trying to kill us, that we're sort of like Neanderthals. And one of the guys who's, actually the ringleader of the whole group is one of the top-ranked psychiatrists in the country. He was a Navy captain in charge of the Bethesda Naval Hospital's psychiatric program. So I think he knows a little bit about what he's talking about, is my point. And we're generally coming up with the idea that we are still this tribal group of critters who need to be in small bands of, maybe 50 to 100 people. And we're not really evolved much beyond that still. So we need to get real about who we are. I guess a flight to reality is one of the things that came up in a theme this morning. So I don't know if we can get to reality, the truth. We're in a post-truth thing from the way our media hits us. But I think Substack is a new media that allows us to actually talk to each other in ways that are a lot more like the early internet was, when you had people who actually had a few brain cells who operated. I don't know if you were in the early internet, Bruno.
I think Substack has been a change because it is an improved version of Instagram and Facebook. But Substack could be much better than what it is now. And actually, I've been in Substack for 2 years, and I have seen it enshittificate like all these other applications.
Enshittification.
In the sense that Substack could be a tool. Substack could be a tool to create community, to bring people together, especially people that share ideas. And Substack works the other way around. Substack is flooding the zone. And it's very difficult not only to find an idea that you read from somebody, but it's also very difficult to establish dialogue between each other. This, for example, this video podcast in 3 is interesting because it's 3 of us discussing something and we're trying to reach some kind of sense after the end of this discussion. But Substack could be much better for this. And it is not. Actually, Substack in the last 2 years has privileged notes above articles. And
yes. Sorry, guys. I have a war breaking out between my cats and dogs here. And keep going. I'm sorry. I got to take care of this.
Yeah, you keep going because I think you're on something. And I liked Substack because it felt more like the early internet when I got on about 1.5 years ago. That's what
the note is a spontaneous expression of an idea. It's usually very short. It's not typical that the person writes a content in a note. Yeah. Whereas the article, the article is more digested. You've thought about it for many days. You began building it. You give it a form. There's some art involved in the article that is not in the note. The note is too spontaneous. The article is totally not spontaneous. There is more of an agenda. There's more of an idea of your own in the article, whereas the note is not like that. And you can see, for example, that if you see the rankings that Substack has, like number 59 in literature, number 2 in health, number 3 in comedy, a lot of these people that are highly ranked publish almost no articles, which means that you can really go up just basically on notes, or the other way around. There's a lot of people that write a lot of articles, yet they still have a very low number of subscribers. So there are some logics on the aspect. There are some
but remember
logics
this. But here's the thing: is I just found out, Bruno. This is really, which is an argument counter to that, which is that anytime you publish an article, you've now given up, and you publish that for free. You've given up 90% of the ability to sell that later on. If you want to try to make money off it, you cannot sell it because it's not a first.
You've been ranting about.
I've been ranting about this forever. It's driving me crazy because I've got so much content, 2,000 plus pieces of content, either published or in archival form that have been published that I cannot monetize because it's been published before, and it's absolutely drives me crazy because I see applications for it everywhere where it would just fit perfectly. And
I didn't answer to your thing about this, but Rasia Eman speaks about this. We need to speak a little bit about intellectual property. Yeah. And intellectual property has also become a very important issue because AI has basically absorbed all of our creation without consent and without compensation. Okay, nobody has asked us if our articles can go into public domain, and nobody has compensated us for it. So AI is based on a very grand theft. Now, the point is that we are also very limited in our capacity to monetize, which is a word I hate. We're very limited in our capacity to sell our art, and all these technologies try to tell you, don't sell art, rather monetize content, and this is a huge problem right now.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, and I hate the word too, Bruno. I really do, but I need. The thing is, I need money to live, and writing is the way it was. I was hoping could be a way to do that, and it's not been. For 10 years now, I've hoped. Maybe I could find a way to make that happen, and I've just not been able to. And I don't think I'm a terrible writer. I mean, maybe I'm no Hemingway, or whatever Thoreau, or maybe. But I think I'm decent. I feel like compared to what I see out there, I just, which is not all that great, that it is making money. It seems. Maybe it's not.
What goes first in this problem? Because the tech industry has sucked all the money into something. Yeah. And has left you with no chances to raise money. Basically, it is destroying the middle class. And so what goes first, do we refunnel the money towards art, or do we spend all of our time trying to monetize it into something, and this is an ethical decision.
Yeah, it is. But and I don't know the people that are making the decisions are having conversations like this about it. That's the problem I have. I don't know if they're thinking about it in the ways that they need to be thinking about it, or at all. They're just making decisions. They're just going like, this is what we're doing, and they're not stopping.
And they're looking at the bottom line of shareholder value.
Right, of course. And I get that coming out of industry. I get that mentality because that's how you run a business. And that's what if you want to succeed, that's what you look at, right? You want to optimize profits.
And then you game the system too, because I was seeing something the other day about how the wealth, when you chart the Standard & Poor's 500 against gold value, we really have been devaluing the currency to make this apparent increase, and we really haven't gotten back to where we were at the dot bomb phase when after the .com thing in 2000 or so, and things dropped off. It was very interesting. I think I restacked that note. Sorry.
Look at that.
The notes feed does bother me a bit because people are treating Substack like it's a social media platform. And I guess in some ways it is. I hate to admit it, but I think that it's become that. And I don't want it to be. I want it to be a writing platform. And like you said, a place you can monetize your writing and actually have people help other writers get better at it. Like I wrote an article about, restacking versus liking. It's like, please don't like my stuff. Restack it if you feel like you like it. That would do something. But just liking it is just like useless. And somebody reacted really badly to that. And I was like, well, no loss, block them. In a way, it is a loss because I don't know why that person got so offended. Maybe because I was talking about going to the right side of the buttons, which is where you find the share and restack. And they thought I was talking about going far right.
I see. So I got mixed up in politics.
Left, right. And the left is liking, right?
Yeah, I insist that this is ethical because, for example, I rarely subscribe. I am not a paid subscriber in general. But I do make an effort to buy books of people that are offering books in Substack. And very recently, I bought a book from Nico Lecote, which is a Ukrainian young guy. And I also bought a book from Hawthorne V. Rabot, which is an American literature professor. And I'm in Italy, so the act of buying the book and then waiting for it to come and then reading it and then making them comment, it feels very 80s or 90s. But I think that it's important to make that kind of shift, like, for example, Edwin Canizales says, perhaps we should go back to the time where people created small publishing houses. Well, I had a movie company, and it's very difficult to have a company that does independent publishing. But Substack could be itself a very good bookstore, and Substack makes no effort in the circulation of content that could be published. And this is what I don't agree with you, Daniel, in the sense that this thing about if you publish in Substack, then you cannot publish commercially. It's not true. It's just a convention in the sense that if I am an independent publisher and you bring me a book, and then I notice that you publish 25 chapters of your book in Substack, most likely I will not want to make the investment, because I will say people have already read the book. So why am I going to stamp it and print it, and distribute it if everyone has read it? But it's not a prohibition. It's not like it's not going to happen. And I would say actually the opposite. People that write very good articles could actually make very good collections of their articles and could try publishing, because anyway, a collection of articles is not the same as a book. Again, it's the thing of building a sense from all that you've written,
Yeah,
anyway, I would say a good solution would be to buy books through Substack.
I like that plan, and I agree with you, Bruno. And I agree exactly what you said is what I thought, until I went out there and started to actually try to do this, and I was met time and time again with a blanket prohibition on anything that's been published anywhere at any time. And it says personal blogs. It doesn't matter how many views it's had. If it's ever been published, do not submit it in, and they will find out, because they're running even the Wayback Machine stuff. Even if you delete it, they're going in. That's how hard they're looking at these things to make sure it's never been published before. Okay, so it's one thing to say that, Bruno, and I'm totally with you. But go out there and try to do this. Actually, try to sell some articles and see if you can figure out a place. It's not that nobody will, but very few.
I could add more elements to this. For example, I made a little study about publishing houses in America, and obviously the slow process of concentration of publishing houses. You now in America have 3 or 4 multinationals. You have Mondadori, and you have Penguin, and you have I don't remember. It's 4, and then you have around 60 to 100 independent publishing houses. And if you go one by one, these little publishing houses, they all have different rules. Some of them demand that you have a literary agent. Some don't. Some will accept a manuscript. Some will not. Some will demand that you have had a previous published work. Some will not. And also, another example, which I think is very interesting, since we all love science fiction, is that the main awards for science fiction are the Hugo Award and the Nebula Award, which are the awards that brought forward the career of Octavia Butler and Bradbury and Roger Zelazny, and more independent Philip Dick, also more independent writers. And it's very interesting that this contest, the Nebula and the Hugo Award, they will only take your book into the competition if the book has been previously published, which I find very peculiar, because it means that you already have had to found an editor that would publish you so that you can go into the contest, Now, as you and I have seen, there's 1,000 contests for new upcoming writers that don't need to publish anything, and they just need, to send their manuscript and see if they get an award or some payment. So I would say, that the publishing industry is in transformation also. Unfortunately, it's going to concentration, as it is happening with every industry in late capitalism. But there's more than one way to make your point across and sell your art instead of monetizing your time.
Yeah.
So maybe we should talk about what those other things are.
Yeah, that's right, Bruno. Yeah. Help me out here, man. Don't just leave me there. Leave me hanging. That's right. I am gonna have Bruno on again as a guest for formally, and because we do need to follow up on our first talk, which was very interesting. We only got about halfway through your life, actually, and the second half is
we didn't do your life story
or more so. No, this is hell. Yeah, this is hell's deal.
If you want a solution, there are some of us, not us 3 particularly, but there are some of us that have a lot of money stashed, and they are they are in the obsession of the portfolio. Do I go into the index funds, or do I invest in bonds, or do I go into real estate, or do I buy shares from SpaceX? And I would simply like people that have money to invest more in art.
The Patreon model, and that's what Patreon. The site Patreon. That's the idea, the concept that site was based on. Was you find a person or people that will fund your work, but it's been as unsuccessful as the other attempts at that have been. A few concerts people get maybe have found a way to make that work, but most have not. And
that's the thing. There are limited numbers of people who really do get on the ground floor and make it work.
And most of those people that have that kind of money are dicks. Like I said, it seems like they're not into that kind of thing. They really are not. They just want to keep the money for themselves. Or they don't care about art, or they don't care about whatever writing. They just don't care. So
but they should, because if we don't produce more art, then AI becomes more slop.
Well, that's why I've been throwing myself into like supporting artists that I liked. I found a pianist that I thought blew me away, so I threw what I had. It's a widow's mite kind of thing, but everybody can do it.
They can, and if more did, it would be in better shape.
Mass. If we would all get that vision in our heads for how people could subscribe to Harrowings, people could subscribe at a paid level or even a founding level, like some people did with Intelligent Nonsense. And Bruno, I don't know if you accept any subscriptions to your Substack, but people
think about it. If I had any money, I might consider it.
I have one paid subscriber. One.
And it would be me if I had any money, I would consider. And I will have money. I am getting a job here. I have skills beyond the writing sphere, and so do everybody here. I know that. This writing thing for me is something I want to do. I've wanted to do for a long time. It's a passion of mine. But I also have other passions, and I also have other skills that are more monetizable. Let's put it that way, perhaps. And I
don't have skills, but I want to patronize people who have skills. Even though I can't patronize them like with huge amounts of money, I do have the shekels I've got.
And everybody's got that. Everyone can do a little bit for somebody, I think, and I just wish they would. And
well, that's the thing. That's why being the nicest guy on Substack was so easy.
Yeah, right. It shouldn't be that easy, actually. Really, it should be difficult. But
no, it should be much harder. Actually, most people think I'm a bit of an ass.
We should all be art. This is very Italian, but we should all be art collectors.
That's right. I know a couple, actually. No, Rodrigo, who I had on, who you guys probably might have seen, my friend in Mexico, is an art dealer, art collector, mostly a dealer. But that's a very fun, good life to have. But anyways, that's way over time. I think, right?
Oh,
it's like 10 after. I think.
Yeah, so. It is.
It's been really great, Hal. And Bruno, thanks for joining, man. That was really a pleasure you joined. I really much appreciate it.
Help a lot.
Probably would have been really a lot of awkward silences if you hadn't joined. So.
Yeah, just
congrats.
And also the chat, and all the chat people here too. Names I recognize mostly. Thanks for showing up, guys and gals. And people I don't recognize. Thanks for joining. Hope you learned something or had a good
all right,
time.
I'm going to look at Edwin now.
All right, man. All right.
He says he's worth the money.
Any comments? Yeah, Edwin, where's your money? You're rich. He's rich. I know he's rich. He works in DC.
He's got 713 subscribers. Oh, that's right. Well, hey, Edwin, come over to Daily Provisions sometime. You in Connecticut. You find me there Friday and Saturday.
I don't know, but I can't believe you guys haven't connected yet, because you guys are both in DC, both really good guys. And you should. And Edwin, he's got money. I think he's got money. I don't know. Anyways, and Jamie, my buddy Jamie. Hey, by the way, you guys got to connect with Jamie if you haven't. I think he might be on. I'm not sure, but he's a good guy. He was a roommate of mine.
Oh, right, Jamie, there he is. He says, I hate that excuse. I don't have time. No, actually, I make times for the things I value. Exactly. I mean, when people say I don't have time, it's like, no, it's just not a priority for you.
Yeah, you got to prioritize it. You got to. But anyways, thanks everybody, and we'll talk again soon. Later, guys. Have a good day. Have a good night. You guys can stay how you want. I'm out of here. See ya.